In every corner of the world, there are secrets. Stories that exist beyond logic, beyond reason. Stories that don't want to be understood, only experienced. Tonight, we return to those places. Places where space bends, where shadows are alive, and where darkness never truly ends. Welcome to Dynamic Dark. Welcome to a brand new horror episode. Welcome to episode 83. Welcome to season 2 of Dynamic Dark. I'm Aditya, and today I bring you 3 terrifying haunted stories. New stories. New week. New fear. In our last episode, episode 82, we explored haunted horror creepypasta tales that left many of you unsettled. If you missed it, the link is in the description below. Make sure to check it out. And now, let's begin today's creepy and scary episode 83. If you are new here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell if you dare to see what comes next. Tonight, we'll explore 3 chilling stories, each one more disturbing than the last. The first story is The Floor Count Changed. The second story is Everyone was standing still. And the third story is The Reflection That Didn't Copy Me. If you love horror like this, then you're in the right place. Because only on Dynamic Dark will you experience classic creepypasta style horror, blended with psychological fear and haunting, unexplained darkness. For the best experience, put on your earphones or headphones. Let the silence, the suspense, and the shadows consume you. And if your room lights are on, turn them off for a more cinematic and terrifying experience. Now, let's begin today's first story. The Floor Count Changed. My name is Silas. I lived on the 7th floor of an apartment building that never stood out. No history, no rumors, no reason to look twice. Just concrete walls and people who kept their distance. The elevator was the most reliable thing there. Every single day, it stopped at 7. It never skipped. It never hesitated. It never made mistakes. I noticed that because everything else did. The lights flickered without warning. The hallway felt narrower at night. Neighbors disappeared quietly. Their names removed, their doors sealed. But the elevator never changed. I would step inside alone, press the same button, and feel the familiar pull upward. 1, 2, 3. I never counted past 7. I didn't need to. The doors always opened before doubt could settle in. After a while, the ride started feeling longer. Not slower, not broken, just heavier. As if the elevator was carrying more than just me. Late at night, the steel walls reflected shapes that didn't move when I did. Tall, still, too dark to be shadows. When I turned to look, they vanished. No sound, no movement, just empty reflections, where something had been standing. I told myself it was exhaustion, or bad lighting, or my mind filling in gaps. That explanation worked, until I felt relief. Every time the elevator reached 7. Not comfort. Relief. Like something had checked me, counted me, and decided I was still allowed to leave. Back then, I didn't question why the elevator was so precise. I didn't ask, What would happen if it ever stopped somewhere else? One night, I pressed the same button. Same routine. Same sound. Same expectation. The elevator doors closed. And the familiar hum began. I leaned back, barely paying attention. Already counting the seconds in my head. 1, 2, 3. The elevator kept moving. That wasn't unusual. Sometimes it felt slow. Sometimes heavy. But then I glanced at the display. It didn't show 7. It showed 8. At first, I assumed I was wrong. Elevator lights flicker. Numbers blur. So I blinked. Looked again. 8. Bright. Stable. Unmistakable. The elevator didn't stop. It continued upward. Smoothly, confidently. Like this was always part of the route. I felt my stomach tighten. Not with fear, but confusion. There was no 8th floor. I knew that. Everyone did. I'd lived here long enough to memorize the building. 7 floors. Nothing above. No locked level. No maintenance floor. No forgotten space. The elevator slowed. That's when the reflections changed. The steel walls darkened, as if they were absorbing light. The shapes I'd noticed before were clearer now. Not shadows. Not people. Just black presences. Formless and wrong. Pressed into the reflections like stains. They didn't move. They didn't watch. They felt aware. The elevator came to a stop. The number 8 stayed lit. I waited for the doors to open. They didn't. Instead, the silence deepened. No hum. No vibration. Just stillness. And then I understood something. That made my chest feel hollow. The elevator hadn't made a mistake. It hadn't skipped a floor. It had gone exactly where it was told. The question wasn't why it showed 8, but why. After all this time, it had decided. I was finally allowed to see it. The doors opened to a hallway identical to mine. Same lights. Same carpet. Same silence. At first, I thought the elevator had just malfunctioned. The yellow ceiling lights hummed the same way they always did. The carpet had the same dark stains I'd stepped over 100 times before. Even the air smelled familiar, old paint, dust, and something faintly metallic. But then I noticed the doors. Every single one was open. All of them. Except mine. I stepped out slowly. The elevator doors slid shut behind me without a sound. The hallway felt longer than it should have been. Not wider. Not different. Just stretched. Inside the open apartments, the lights were on. Furniture was there. Shoes near the door. Beds neatly made. As if people had just stood up and left mid-moment. But no one was inside. As I walked forward, I realized something else. The silence wasn't empty. It was heavy. Like it was pressing against my ears. That's when I saw them. Black ghosts. Not standing. Not floating like people. They clung to spaces instead, thick, smoky black ghosts pulling near ceilings, seeping out of corners, stretching along door frames like spilled darkness that refused to fall. They didn't move when I moved. They didn't react at all. They were already there. Watching. I tried to count the doors. The numbers didn't help. They repeated, or skipped, or vanished when I looked away. My door was still closed at the end of the hall. The only one. As I walked closer, the black ghosts grew denser. The hallway lights flickered, and for a moment, the walls reflected shapes that weren't actually there. Or maybe they were, and the reflections were late. I stopped breathing when I realized something. The open apartments behind me were no longer empty. Black ghosts now filled them. Thick, smoky masses drifting just above the floor, pressed against walls, hanging in doorways like they were waiting their turn. Waiting for something to close. Waiting for me. When I finally reached my door, I didn't touch the handle. I already knew. If I opened it, it wouldn't lead inside. And if I turned around, there would be no hallway left. Only open doors. And black ghosts. Inside each apartment stood a black figure. Not moving. Not watching. Just standing. As if assigned to that space. At first, I thought they were shadows. The kind your brain invents when it's tired. But shadows don't have weight. These did. Each open apartment held one black ghost, thick, smoky masses of darkness, shaped differently in every room. Some were tall and stretched upward, their edges slowly drifting like heavy smoke trapped indoors. Others were wider, denser, hovering low, as if gravity affected them differently. None of them touched the floor. None of them touched anything at all. They didn't turn when I moved. They didn't react when I stopped breathing. They weren't there for me. That realization came slowly. And when it did, it felt worse than being watched. These black ghosts weren't curious. They weren't hostile. They were placed. Assigned. I stepped closer to one apartment. The furniture was normal. A couch. A table. A framed photo turned face down. And in the center of the room, the black ghost hovered perfectly still, as if the space had been measured precisely for it. Like it belonged there more than anything else. I noticed something then. Every apartment had the same layout. Same distance from doorway to center. Same ceiling height. And every black ghost occupied that exact center point. Not drifting. Not adjusting. Waiting. As I moved down the hallway, the silence changed. Not louder. Not quieter. Heavier. The air felt organized. Structured. Like a system running smoothly. I passed another room. Then another. Each one identical in purpose, if not in shape. Each one containing a black ghost that never shifted, never responded, never acknowledged me. Until I reached the last apartment. Mine. Its door was still closed. The only one. And for the first time, I understood. The hallway wasn't wrong. The elevator hadn't malfunctioned. Something was being completed. Every space had been filled. Except one. I didn't open the door. I didn't need to. I already knew what would be inside. Not a room. Not furniture. Just a space. Waiting to be assigned. My door was the only one still closed. A single black ghost hovered in front of it. Facing inward. Blocking nothing. Waiting. It wasn't large like the others. It wasn't small either. Just deliberate. The hallway behind me was wide and silent. Every other apartment stood open. Every other space already occupied. But this one, this space, was unfinished. The black ghost in front of my door didn't move. It didn't react when I stopped walking. It didn't shift when I stepped closer. Its shape was thick and smoky, edges slowly folding in on themselves, as if time behaved differently around it. Not drifting. Not floating away. Holding position. I realized something then. It wasn't guarding the door. It wasn't preventing entry. It was marking a boundary. Behind me, the hallway felt complete. Balanced. Resolved. Ahead of me, the door felt wrong. Not locked. Not sealed. Unassigned. I raised my hand but didn't touch the handle. The black ghost didn't respond. Didn't acknowledge the movement. That was the worst part. It didn't care whether I entered or not. It was waiting for a condition to be met. I tried to remember the last time I had been inside my apartment. Not physically. Mentally. The memory felt thin. Like a place I had already left. The hallway lights flickered once. Not violently. Just enough to remind me they could stop. The black ghost remained unchanged. Facing inward. As if whatever was supposed to be inside was no longer there. Or never had been. I understood then. Every other apartment had been assigned a presence. A purpose. A constant. Mine had not. The black ghost wasn't waiting for me to open the door. It was waiting for me to no longer need what was behind it. I stepped back. The door stayed closed. The ghost stayed still. And for the first time, I wasn't sure which one of us belonged on this side. The elevator doors closed behind me. The metal slid together smoothly, as if nothing unusual had ever happened. The display above the doors flickered once and returned to 7. No error. No hesitation. Just normal. The ride down felt shorter than it should have been. No sounds except the soft hum of cables. And my own breathing, suddenly too loud. When the doors opened, the lobby looked exactly the same. Same security desk. Same broken light above the notice board. Same smell of dust and cleaning chemicals. No one looked at me twice. That night, I didn't sleep. Not because I was afraid, but because I wasn't sure what fear would mean anymore. In the morning, I checked the building directory. There was no 8th floor. The list went from 7 straight to 9. I stood there longer than necessary, waiting for something to correct itself. Nothing did. I asked the security guard. He frowned and said the building had never had an 8th floor. I checked old photos online. Rental listings. Emergency maps. 7. 9. Always. The hallway from the night before didn't exist. My door was where it should be. Closed. Ordinary. Inside, everything was normal. Too normal. The carpet was clean. The walls felt closer. The silence felt thinner. Like something had been removed. Sometimes, when I ride the elevator now, the display hesitates. Just for a fraction of a second. Before settling on 7. And in that pause, I feel it. Not fear. Not relief. Recognition. as if the building remembers something it no longer has room for. And every time the doors open, I step out carefully. Because I know some floors don't disappear. They just stop waiting. Everyone was standing still. Traffic stopped without warning. Cars froze mid-motion. People paused mid-step, as if someone had pressed pause on the world. There was no sound when it happened. No crash. No scream. Just silence arriving all at once. My name is Rowan. And I was standing in the middle of a crosswalk when it happened. A bus halted inches from my shoulder. A man leaned halfway out of its open door, one foot suspended above the road. A woman stood with her phone raised to her ear, screen still glowing. A cyclist balanced at an impossible angle, never falling. Wind kept moving. Leaves rolled across the asphalt. A newspaper slid past my shoes. Only people had stopped. I stepped forward. My foot hit the ground. Nothing resisted. Up close, it felt wrong. They weren't statues. They weren't asleep. They were paused. Eyes open. Muscles tight. Expressions unfinished. Time hadn't ended. It had skipped them. That's when I noticed the black ghosts. Not everywhere. Not dramatic. Thick, smoky black ghosts hovered near some people, dense masses of darkness with slow, unstable edges, not human-shaped, not touching the ground. One lingered inches from a man's face. Another floated beside a child frozen mid-run. They didn't move. They didn't react. They were positioned, as if assigned. I turned slowly. The city felt too large now, too empty. And then I realized something that made my chest tighten. None of the black ghosts were near me. I waved my hand. Nothing responded. I wasn't frozen. I was excluded. A low vibration passed through the air, felt more than heard. The black ghosts thinned, like smoke losing its source. And suddenly, everything snapped back. Engines roared. Someone shouted. The cyclist wobbled and swore. The bus lurched forward. The world continued. No one noticed. No one remembered. I asked a man beside me what had just happened. He frowned and said nothing unusual had occurred. But I could see it now. Some people moved slightly out of sync. A fraction of a second late. And in crowded places. If I focused hard enough, I could still see them. Faint black ghosts, drifting where people had been standing. Not watching. Not following. Just waiting. And I don't think they were waiting for the world. I think they were waiting to notice me again. Phones still rang. Screens still glowed. Wind still moved the trees. Only humans stopped. I, Rowan, stepped forward carefully. The world around me had frozen mid-motion. A cyclist leaned impossibly over his bike. A man halfway out of a car door, foot suspended in air. A woman held her phone to her ear, eyes wide, frozen mid-blink. Cars were stalled, engines idling silently. Leaves fluttered in the wind. A plastic bag rolled lazily across the street. The black ghosts were there. Thick, smoky, free-floating masses of darkness, hovering around some frozen humans. Some dense and wide, like clouds caught in midair. Some tall and stretched, edges constantly rippling. None human-shaped. None touched the ground. They didn't move. They didn't react. They were positioned deliberately. Watching? Perhaps. I raised my hand. No one responded. The ghosts didn't shift. I wasn't frozen. I was alone. Excluded. The city felt enormous now. Silent. Empty. Then, in a flicker, the world snapped back. Engines roared. People moved. The cyclist wobbled, cursing. The man in the car blinked and sat back. No one remembered pausing. No one noticed. But if I looked closely, I could still see them. Faint black ghosts, lingering where people had been standing. Not threatening. Not following. Just waiting. And I realized I had been the only one not paused. I had been the observer in a world on hold. The thought sent a chill down my spine. They weren't waiting for the world. They were waiting for me. That's when I noticed them. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. Between the frozen people, between the unmoving cars, there were shapes that didn't belong. Tall black figures, standing among the crowd. They weren't in the middle of the road. They weren't blocking anything. They were placed carefully, as if someone had measured the space before putting them there. Perfect distance from each other. Perfect distance from the people. They didn't breathe. They didn't shift their weight. They didn't blink because they had no faces to blink with. One stood beside a man frozen mid-call, its height stretching just above the street light. Another loomed behind a woman paused halfway through crossing the road. A third stood near a child, angled slightly away, like it wasn't interested yet. They weren't frozen. That's what scared me. Everything else in the city was paused. But these figures felt active, present, alert. I walked closer to one of them. Slowly, carefully. The closer I got, the heavier the air felt. Like the space around it was thicker than the rest of the street. It didn't react, didn't turn, didn't acknowledge me. But I knew. Somehow I was being noticed. I looked around and realized something was. Every black figure was facing the same direction. Not toward the people. Not toward the cars. Toward me. I was the only thing still moving. And they weren't waiting for the world to start again. They were waiting for me to stop. I walked past one of them. It didn't move. Didn't turn its head. Didn't react to me at all. It stood there like a mistake the world refused to correct. I slowed my steps. Nothing changed. The people around it were still frozen. A man mid-blink. A woman reaching for her phone. A child caught halfway through a laugh. But this thing, it wasn't frozen. It felt placed. I passed beside it, close enough to feel the air change. Cold. Heavy. Wrong. Still, it didn't move. That's when I noticed my shadow. It stretched along the road, distorted by the street lights. But it wasn't copying me anymore. When I stepped forward, my shadow hesitated. When I stopped, it kept moving. I looked down. The shadow wasn't shaped like me. It was taller, thicker. Its edges bled into the shadows of nearby buildings, as if it didn't belong to any single body. I glanced back at the black figure. It was still standing there, still not looking at me. but its shadow was connected to mine. Every step I took, the shadow followed, sliding across walls, crawling over frozen feet, stretching farther than it should. I realized then, the figures weren't here to move. They were here to attach. And once they did, they never needed to look at you again. When time restarted, the city exhaled. Cars roared. People began walking again. Laughter bounced off buildings. Voices returned, conversations restarting mid-thought. Children ran, unaware of the pause they had been caught in. But the black figures didn't move. Tall, thick shapes standing silently among the crowd. Some near cars, some by frozen signs, some on sidewalks, each slightly different in size, but all dark, dense, unshakable. None human-shaped. None touching anyone. I walked past one. It didn't look at me. It didn't step aside. It didn't react. Yet I felt its weight. A subtle pressure in the air, like the atmosphere itself had thickened around them. The people around them moved normally, oblivious. The world continued as if nothing had happened. But I knew better. I could feel their presence following me as I navigated the streets. Every glance I took confirmed it. They stayed, watching, waiting. And I realized something chilling. No matter how much the city moved on, these black figures weren't going anywhere. Time had restarted for everyone. But not for them. They would remain. And I was still the only one noticing. They turned their heads together. Not toward the street. Not toward the sky. Not toward the people moving around them. They were looking only at me. Every tall, thick black figure in the city shifted in unison. Perfectly still moments ago, now synchronized. A low, suffocating weight pressed the air. I froze. Time continued for everyone else. But for me, I was trapped in their gaze. And I realized, they had been waiting for this moment. And the third story is the reflection that didn't copy me. My reflection was always slightly delayed. Just enough to notice. A blink late. A breath behind. I told myself it was normal. But every morning, Amelia would catch herself in the mirror. And every morning, her reflection hesitated just a fraction longer than she did. Sometimes it lingered, watching her move before it moved. Sometimes it smiled, a second too late. And that's when she realized. The mirror wasn't copying her. It was predicting her. Then the delay increased. 1 second. Then 2. Amelia moved her hand. Her reflection hesitated. It no longer felt like glass. It no longer felt like a mirror. It felt like depth. A place beyond the room. A space that existed separately. Waiting for her to act. To move. To blink. And each time she watched it, the sense of being observed grew heavier. Like something behind the glass was noticing her. Learning her movements, predicting her next step. One night, the reflection didn't copy me at all. It stood still, staring forward, unblinking, unmoving. Amelia stepped closer. Her own reflection should have mirrored her. But it didn't. And then she saw it, something else behind it. A tall, thick black shape rising from the depths of the mirror. Dense, smoky, impossible to reach. It hovered silently, dark and heavy, stretching slightly above the reflection's head. It wasn't human-shaped. It didn't move. It didn't blink. The air in the room grew colder. The lights dimmed slightly, flickering across the surface of the mirror. Amelia felt her heartbeat accelerate. Every instinct screamed to step back. But curiosity held her in place. The reflection still waited, perfectly still, while the black shape behind it remained unmoving, just watching. And she realized, with a chilling certainty, the mirror wasn't reflecting the world anymore. It had become a window. A window to something else. The black figure wasn't behind me, only behind the reflection. It leaned closer to the glass, as if learning my shape. Amelia froze. Every movement she made was mirrored late, imperfectly, by the figure behind the glass. It didn't blink. It didn't move like a person. It simply leaned, observing, waiting. And with each second, the reflection seemed less like her, and more like a window into something else entirely. Then the reflection moved. Before I did, Amelia froze. Her hand lifted, but the reflection's hand had already risen. Her head turned, but the mirrored figure had already looked elsewhere. And then she noticed it. The black figure behind the glass. It smiled. Without a face. A dark, wide arc that didn't belong to any human anatomy. An expression impossible to ignore. The air grew heavier. The room felt smaller. And she realized, this wasn't just a reflection. It was alive. It had been waiting for her. I stepped away from the mirror. The reflection stayed. Amelia's heart raced. Every instinct screamed to leave the room. But the reflection didn't move with her. It remained perfectly still, staring forward. And that's when she understood. Mirrors don't reflect. They decide. They decide who gets to stay. Who gets to move on. Who is trapped. The black figure behind the glass didn't blink. It didn't lean or shift. It just watched. Faceless, silent, yet somehow satisfied. The air in the room thickened. The fog on the floor swirled unnaturally. Shadows bent oddly across walls and furniture. Even the faint reflections in other surfaces seemed to ripple toward the mirror. Amelia tried to turn away, to leave. But a cold pressure gripped her chest, stopping her. She realized then. The mirror had already chosen. And she wasn't moving anywhere. The black figure remained behind the glass, unmoving. But the tension in its presence told her everything. It was not just observing anymore. It was judging. And decisions were being made. No one else in the house noticed. The room was silent except for her shallow breaths. But she knew. The reflection, the black ghost behind it, the mirror itself. They were alive. They were aware. And now, she belonged to them. So that was the end of episode 83 of Dynamic Dark. If these chilling tales and haunted stories made you shiver, tell us in the comments which story kept you awake tonight. The most terrifying comment. I, Aditya, will pin it. And it must have the most likes to claim the crown. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications bell so you never miss our next descent into the unknown. And share this video with your friends and family if they can handle the fear. Have a haunted location, creepy encounter, or urban legend to share? Drop it in the comments. The idea with the most likes will be featured in our next episode. Episode 84 is coming soon. where we will dive deep into Indian horror stories, uncover darker mysteries, cursed places, and secrets that linger where the shadows never sleep. Stay tuned, keep watching, and dare to explore the terrifying unknown with Dynamic Dark every episode at 7:45 p.m.